Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys?
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it. Husband!
Wife!
Do you know where we are and how we got here and what we're doing today?
Well, we just finished reading Isaiah 35, and before I get into what we read in that one, I do have to apologize real quick because I did bad editing yesterday.
Bad editor, bad!
Yeah, so for anybody who hopped on to our regular podcast episodes to try to listen to this, you heard a mess of the ending and the beginning all in one. And I have since fixed that. There may be some podcast apps out there that don't fix it for a couple of days. But if you go to our website, it is fixed on there, and it should be fixed on the rest of the podcast apps here shortly. So I apologize for that, for anybody who missed yesterday's due to that. And sorry.
Sorry.
That being said, yesterday in our podcast, which was Isaiah 35, it was very, very short.
It was very short.
And it seemed like it was all just like, yay, we're saving the Israelites and stuff and good things mostly.
Gladness and joy will overtake them.
Yeah. There wasn't really a lot to comment on. Like, okay, they're happy now again.
No lions will get them on the golden highway, stairway to heaven.
Yeah, all kinds of good shit.
Take the high road.
Happy, joy.
Right.
Yeah. So that was Isaiah chapter 35.
Correct.
Which means that today we're going to be reading
Isaiah chapter 36.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, so we are hopping into Isaiah chapter 36.
Okay.
And based on my notes, I should let you know that we've already covered this material.
Oh.
And it's going to sound, I think...
Very repetitive?
Not repetitive, but I think you'll remember it. It'll be a good refresher.
Okay.
This happened during a battle that we read about in 2 Kings.
You expect me to remember all the way back to 2 Kings?
That gets into the next thing I wanted to say. I'm very, very annoyed at how this book was put together. I feel like, okay, I know I sound silly, but honestly, I feel like all of the writings, quote unquote, like Psalms and Proverbs and even the book of Job, really, they were put in the wrong place. They separated all the chronicle history stuff.
Yeah.
And then we've got all the prophets after the writings.
Right.
But the thing is that what the prophets are talking about and what's happening in the stories of the prophets takes place during those histories.
Right, yeah.
So
they tell it from each individual author's point of view.
Right.
And it's like it causes the person, if you're reading the Bible straight through.
It's like, oh, it's been 2 years since you read about this history, but remember that time?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I fucking don't.
Yeah. No, it would be, I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there that timelines the writings of the Bible.
Oh, yeah. Well, I need to see it. I know that there is such a thing. But I'm going to try to find one because I'm just like really out of sorts over this.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person that even when I'm reading Shakespeare, for example, if there's like more than, I don't know, say 4 characters, I got to take notes. Honestly, like if you go through, I have like a compendium, a giant, like every Shakespeare play ever kind of book.
Right.
And if you flip through that book, index cards will fall out of the book because I had to write who was with who, what family was on this side, who was friends with. Like, even as something as simple as Romeo and Juliet, I couldn't remember who was with the Capulets and who was with the Montagues.
Sure.
You know? So to ask me to remember all of this, I'm really like offended over it.
Yeah, especially doing it out of order. Like,
Yes.
it's very hard to follow sometimes.
Yes, this book is so like I feel like they made it as difficult for beginners as possible, and it's offensive.
I don't think that it was ever really. I mean, I don't think the intended audience was ever the layman. You know, like not
Yeah.
at least initially. At least initially, like it was meant for the religious scholars and people who put the time in to study it to learn better.
Right.
Because
I understand that, and I know it's just a collection. It's not something that you're supposed to read straight through. But the thing is I've always been told, read the Bible.
sure, yeah,
So here I am reading the Bible, and I've never once heard anybody tell me, oh, but take notes as you go, and there's shit that's like not just out of order, but like really inconveniently placed that you might want to skip to the end.
well, you and I have talked about this a lot. I think that when we finish, quote unquote, finish the Bible, I think there's going to be a lot of going back to cover different things. And I think some of that could involve timelining some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like because it was so out of place, it was so out of order that, you know, a lot of the messages get muddled in this back and forth between, oh, this person said this about this here, but then this about that same thing here and the same thing, you know, like
Right.
just it's on and on through the Bible. Like you can't keep like, why are we going back to that one thing, you know, hundreds of years ago here?
Well,
And-
I was starting to lose track of all of the kings and leaders before we got here.
Sure.
Like, remember when we started getting into the age of the kings, and I was like, oh no, I'm done. Like, I can't remember all of this.
Right. I don't know that, you know, to me also, I'm not sure that the message of the exact names of the kings and the timelines should be, I don't know that should be the important part. The message is what, like the messages that God is giving these people, right? In the Bible, right? In canon. That is supposed to be the overriding theme, the overriding message that we're supposed to be getting anyway.
That's what I've always been told, but it's clearly not true.
Right.
You know, and that's...
Well, I mean, it would make it easier to follow these messages if we could get them in context.
Right.
And
they're
just not in context.
I'm put out over this whole thing.
Yeah, no,
like,
I get it.
I'm frustrated.
I get it.
Like, as I was reading my notes, I was like, I remember when I'm going to stop and I'm just going to get reading, okay?
Okay.
So, in the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign,
Yeah.
remember that guy?
I mean, yeah.
Sennacherib, king of Assyria. Remember Sennacherib?
Not exactly, no.
Okay, well, hopefully you will, because he was a big deal. Like, we were dealing with him for a bit. Like,
Okay.
they had a battle.
Got it.
Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them.
Oh.
Then the king of Assyria sent his field commander with a large army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. So this part is, we've read this before.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
When the commander stopped at the aqueduct of the upper pool on the road to the launderer's field, Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna, the secretary, and Joah, son of Asaph, the recorder, went out to him.
Okay.
The field commander said to them, "Tell Hezekiah, this is what the great king, the king of Assyria, says. On what are you basing this confidence of yours? You say you have counsel and might for war, but you speak only empty words. On whom are you depending that you rebel against me? Look, I know you are depending on Egypt, that splintered reed of a staff, which pierces the hand of anyone who leans on it."
Wow.
That's
harsh words.
right? Big words.
Yeah.
"Such is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who depend on him." Damn,
man.
trash talking
They
the
do
Pharaoh.
not like Egypt.
"But if you say to me, 'We are depending on the Lord our God,' isn't he the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah removed, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, 'You must worship before this altar'? Come now, make a bargain with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses, if you can put riders on them. How then can you repulse one officer of the least of my master's officials, even though you are depending on Egypt for chariots and horsemen?" So are you following all this?
Yeah, Hezekiah, or I'm sorry, not Hezekiah. The Assyrians are saying we've got you surrounded. We're really powerful. We've destroyed all your shit, and you're relying on Egypt, but obviously they can't be relied on. So,
and I thought it was supposed to be that your God was so powerful.
Right, right.
So why aren't you depending on your God?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of on Egypt.
Right.
And then also he's saying, we have so many horsemen, we have so many horses that even our horses outnumber your army.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't even put men on all the horses that we have.
Right.
So he's like seriously trash talking these guys.
Well, and trying to get, I mean, like, he probably doesn't want to battle any more than anybody else, you know? So he's like, can you guys just give up already? Like, we've won. Exactly. We've got you fucking surrounded.
Yeah. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to the field commander, and I think that this is the part you might remember.
Okay.
Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, since we understand it. Don't speak to us in Hebrew in the hearing of the people on the wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So we have read this before.
Right.
Because they didn't want the people to overhear the Assyrian king's people telling them, you guys are all but beat. You guys, like, we have you surrounded, like you said, and, we outnumber you.
I don't think when we read it the first time, I don't think it was spelled out in so much detail.
It wasn't.
It was definitely a lot shorter snippet.
And we didn't really understand, like, what the fuck is happening.
Right, right.
So I think it's neat.
Yeah, but this would have been nice to have this context when we were in the earlier chapter.
It would have been cool to read this at that time.
Right, yeah.
But the commander replied, was it only to your master and you that my master sent me to say these things, and not to the people sitting on the wall, who, like you, will have to eat their own excrement and drink their own urine?
Ooh, damn.
He's like, we've got you surrounded. We can starve you out.
Y'all are fucked.
You're going to be eating your own shit and piss in a minute here, so fuck off.
They might as well know, yeah.
Yeah. Then the commander stood and called out in Hebrew, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. He cannot deliver you. So he's saying, don't follow your own king.
Yeah.
Do not let Hezekiah persuade you to trust in the Lord when he says, the Lord will surely deliver us. This city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah. This is what the king of Assyria says. Make peace with me and come out. Then each of you will eat fruit from your own vine and fig tree and drink water from your own cistern until I come and take you to a land like your own, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. So he's saying basically either we're going to come and starve you out, and then we're going to come in and kill you all, slaughter you, or
you can join us as probable slaves or something.
Well, you can sit here at home safe and sound for a few days until we come back through, and then we will just peacefully take you and relocate you.
Right.
Like, you will be rehomed. Yeah. And like you said, probably as slaves.
Right.
But in the meantime...
But the alternative is death and starvation, so...
Right. So, I mean, it's not a horrible offer, but it's like prolonging.
Right. It's not death anyway.
It's not instant death.
Right.
It's just a slow death.
Sure.
Do not let Hezekiah mislead you when he says, the Lord will deliver us. Have the gods of any nations ever delivered their lands from the hand of the king of Assyria? Boom. I was reading some notes from an apologist, and he was like, this isn't to say that they believed that there were other gods. They just acknowledged that other people believed in other gods.
Okay.
And I'm like...
okay. Yeah, whatever.
Right. I'm just like, we could get into this, but... Right. This isn't the only place in the Bible.
I honestly don't... The way the Bible reads to me, it doesn't feel like people took God as seriously as they do today even.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they were more just this entity that it was like a crapshoot, like sometimes, I want this God to win today, so we're gonna bow to this God.
Like sometimes we're like super spiritual and we're like, oh, look at our great crops and we should like thank that God, or oh, our crops are shitty, we should pray to this God.
Right.
But like any other time when it's just like middle ground, they probably weren't even thinking of the God.
It feels that way.
Right.
Because they had other idols and stuff most of the time anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So. Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Have they rescued Samaria from my hand?
I'm going to guess no.
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard
I
of
don't
those
know
places.
the answer, but yeah, that doesn't sound like...
Right?
Yeah.
Who of all the gods of these countries have been able to save their lands from me? How then can the Lord deliver Jerusalem from my hand? But the people remained silent and said nothing in reply because the king had commanded, do not answer him.
Okay.
Do you remember all of that?
Yeah, yeah.
And we were like, I call bullshit. They would have said something.
Right.
Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna the secretary, and Jonah, son of Asaph, the recorder, went to Hezekiah with their clothes torn and told him what the field commander had said. The end.
Oh, that was it?
That was it for that chapter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that was just like a very much...
It was that...
much more detailed version of what we read before.
It's that conversation expanded upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really nothing special about this chapter because it's all basically stuff we've already read.
Yeah.
And yeah, here's this battle happening. And I can even imagine that, not even imagine. I know this because we already fucking read it, but like God's going to win, like that's, and of course we're reading the Bible. So we always know, even if we don't know, God's going to win.
Yeah.
If he wants us to lose, we'll lose, but we'll only lose temporarily and then we'll win somewhere down the line.
Maybe.
Either way,
it doesn't matter.
We're winning.
We're with God,
essentially.
So it's fine. It's fine. This is fine. It's
right.
all fine.
I mean, it's like any story that you expect to win. You're going to win.
It's a Hallmark movie, but with slavery, rape, and lots and lots of blood and murder.
Yeah. No, it is what it is.
You know the ending. You just don't know how it's going to get there.
Right.
And they might pick out a Christmas tree on the way.
All right. Well, anyway, that was a repeat of something we already knew.
From 2 Kings.
Mm-hmm. And so that was Hezekiah chapter...
No, that was Isaiah.
Oh, my God. Wow. I just threw that out there. Yeah. Isaiah chapter 36.
Yes.
Which means that tomorrow we will be back with...
Isaiah chapter 37.
All right. We'll see you then.
Yep. Bye.
Hey, wife. I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegiousdiscourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.